Picture this scenario. You're sitting at your desk. The work is in front of you. Important work, the kind that could change your trajectory. But your hand reaches for your phone instead. Just one quick check, just a few minutes of scrolling. 5 hours later, you've done nothing, and you hate yourself for it. But here's what you don't understand. That wasn't weakness. That was your brain doing exactly what it was designed to do. Your brain isn't broken. It's just playing by rules that no longer serve you. What if I told you that the most disciplined people you know, the ones who seem to have supernatural willpower, aren't actually stronger than you? They've simply learned to hack the same neural machinery that's currently working against you. They've turned their brain into an accomplice instead of an enemy. In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you how they did it, and more importantly, how you can do it too. Because once you understand the biological architecture of motivation, discipline stops being a battle. It becomes inevitable. Your brain runs on a simple, brutal economic system. Every potential action gets evaluated on one metric: energy return on investment. High effort, uncertain reward. Your brain hits the emergency brake. Low effort, guaranteed dopamine. Green light, go, now. This isn't a character flaw. This is survival programming from an era when a human being who wasted energy on pointless tasks didn't pass on their genes. The problem is, your Paleolithic brain is now living in a world engineered by Stanford PhDs whose only job is to exploit it. Every app on your phone, every algorithm, every notification, they've all been designed by teams of neuroscientists to trigger the exact pathways that make discipline impossible. Your brain isn't losing a fair fight. It's being ambushed by weaponized psychology. Let me show you what's actually happening inside your skull when you can't start that project. There's a cluster of neurons buried deep in your midbrain called the nucleus accumbens. Think of it as your motivation engine. It runs on dopamine. But dopamine doesn't work the way most people think. It's not the pleasure chemical. It's the wanting chemical, the anticipation chemical. Dopamine spikes when you expect a reward, not when you receive it. That's why scrolling feels so magnetic. Every swipe might reveal something interesting. Every refresh might show a new notification. The possibility floods your system with dopamine, and suddenly you can't stop. You're not enjoying it. You're hunting, searching, craving the next hit. But here's where it gets dark. When you get too many easy dopamine hits, your brain adapts. It's called downregulation. Your dopamine receptors literally decrease in number. It's like your brain is turning down the volume on satisfaction itself. Now you need more stimulation to feel the same level of interest. A book that once captivated you feels boring. A workout that once energized you feels impossible. You're not losing discipline, you're experiencing a tolerance effect, just like a drug. Neuroscientists did an experiment with rats. They implanted electrodes that stimulated the dopamine system. Whenever the rat pressed a lever, they got an artificial hit. The rats developed a craving so powerful they stopped eating, stopped sleeping, just kept pressing the lever until they collapsed from exhaustion. Then they reversed the experiment. They blocked dopamine release entirely. The rats became so lethargic that even getting up for water wasn't worth the effort. They wouldn't eat, wouldn't mate, wouldn't do anything. If you placed food directly in their mouths, they would still chew and swallow. They could still experience pleasure, but they had zero motivation to seek it. You are not so different from those rats. Every time you choose the phone over the project, the scroll over the study session, the comfort over the challenge, you're training your brain that effort isn't worth it. You're teaching it that dopamine comes easy, and the more you teach it that lesson, the more impossible discipline becomes. This is why people who spend 6 hours a day on social media often feel the most unmotivated. Their brains have been recalibrated to expect constant, effortless reward. Anything requiring sustained focus feels like punishment by comparison. But here's the beautiful thing about neuroplasticity. What can be broken can be fixed. Your brain is constantly rewiring itself based on what you do. Every choice you make is either strengthening pathways for discipline or reinforcing pathways for distraction. The question isn't whether your brain will change. It's which direction you're pushing it. So how do you push it in the right direction? Machiavelli wrote that a prince must be both a fox and a lion. The fox to recognize traps, the lion to frighten wolves. You must become both to yourself. You must outsmart your own weaknesses and then overpower them before they take hold. Start by being the fox. Watch yourself, objectively, clinically. When do you procrastinate? What are your excuses? I'm tired. I'll do it later. It's not the right time. These aren't reasons. These are psychological traps your brain sets for itself. Recognition is the first weapon. Then be the lion. Once you've identified the trap, you strike before the excuse can form. You don't think about going to the gym. You put on your shoes and walk out the door. You don't consider whether you feel like writing. You open the document and put your hands on the keys. The decision was made before the resistance could speak. There's a principle Machiavelli outlined that most people misunderstand. He said, when you seize a state, commit all your cruelties at once. Get them over with so you're not inflicting pain repeatedly. Apply this to your hardest tasks. Don't warm up, don't ease in. Attack the most difficult, most unpleasant part first thing. This is the cold start, the ruthless beginning. Why? Because anticipatory anxiety drains more energy than the task itself. When you delay the hard thing, you carry the weight of it all day. It haunts you, but when you do it immediately, you free yourself. The rest of the day feels light by comparison, and your brain learns that the dread was worse than the reality. Over time, starting becomes easier. Not because the task changed, because your brain stopped lying to you about how bad it would be. But there's something even more powerful you can do. You can trick your brain into pairing pleasure with the hard task. Build what neuroscientists call a dopamine bridge. Here's how it works. Your brain releases dopamine in anticipation of reward, so you create a rule. You only get to listen to your favorite podcast while you're at the gym. You only get that expensive coffee while you're doing deep work. You only get to watch that show after you've written for an hour. At first, this feels like bribery, and it is. But something fascinating happens. Over time, your brain begins to crave the podcast, and the only way to get it is to work out. You've hijacked your own reward system. The hard task becomes the gateway to the pleasure. And soon, your brain starts releasing dopamine in anticipation of the task itself. You're not fighting your biology anymore, you're reprogramming it. William James, the father of American psychology, said something profound. If you want a quality, act as if you already have it. This isn't fake it till you make it. This is identity engineering. When you act from identity rather than intention, the task stops being a burden. It becomes an expression of who you are. Don't say, I'm going to the gym to lose weight. Say, I am an athlete. Athletes train. This is what I do. Don't say, I need to study for this test. Say, I am a scholar. Scholars study. It's who I am. Your brain resists cognitive dissonance. If you believe you are a disciplined person, your actions will begin to align with that belief to avoid the discomfort of being a fraud. You're not trying to be disciplined. You simply are. And people who are disciplined do the work. It's not a choice. It's an identity. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus taught his students to be like archers. The archer can control his stance, his aim, his form. But once the arrow leaves the bow, the wind and the target are beyond him. His focus must be on the process, never the outcome. This is the secret the disciplined understand. They've detached from results. They don't do the work to get the promotion. They do the work because they are the kind of person who does excellent work. The outcome is irrelevant to the action. A salesman who focuses only on closing deals will be destroyed by rejection. But a dangerously disciplined salesman focuses on making 50 calls a day. That is his discipline. The customer's response is beyond his control. He controls the calls. And because he controls them, he makes them every day, without exception, without negotiation. Friedrich Nietzsche called this amor fati, love of fate. Not just accepting what is necessary, but loving it. The obstacle isn't something to endure, it's fuel. The resistance you feel when you sit down to work, that's proof you're pushing against your limits. Welcome it. When you feel the urge to quit, smile. This is the forge. This is where you're being made into something harder. There's a psychological principle called the Zeigarnik effect. The human brain obsesses over unfinished tasks. A Soviet psychologist noticed that waiters could remember complex orders perfectly, but only until the bill was paid. Once the task was complete, the memory vanished. Your brain doesn't like loose ends. You can use this. When you're working on something difficult, stop in the middle. Don't finish the sentence. Don't complete the thought. Leave it unfinished. Your brain, irritated by the incompleteness, will continue working on it in the background. It will nag you to return. You won't have to force yourself to start again. Your own mind will be pulling you back to the work. Benjamin Franklin once turned a political rival into an ally by asking to borrow a rare book from him. The man lent it, and in doing so, had to justify to himself why he would help Franklin. I must like him, his mind concluded. Otherwise, I wouldn't have done him this favor. This is the Ben Franklin effect. You can use it on yourself. Do a small act of discipline. 1 push-up, 1 sentence written, 1 minute of focused work. Your brain will have to justify it. I just worked on a Sunday. I must be a very dedicated person. That small action shifts your identity. And once your identity shifts, bigger actions follow naturally. You are not trying to become disciplined. You are creating evidence that you already are. But none of this works if your environment is sabotaging you. Most people try to change behavior while leaving the environment exactly the same. This is like trying to quit drinking while living in a bar. Your environment is stronger than your willpower, always. James Clear, author of Atomic Habits, revealed something most people don't want to hear. The most consistent people aren't more motivated. They've simply designed systems where the right behavior is easier than the wrong one. They don't fight their brain. They manipulate the space around it. If your phone is next to your bed, you will check it first thing in the morning. If junk food is in your pantry, you will eat it when you're stressed. If your workout clothes are buried in a drawer, you won't work out. This isn't weakness, this is physics. The path of least resistance wins. So change the path. Delete social media from your phone. Put your workout clothes next to your bed. Hide the junk food. Make the wrong choice require more effort than the right one. Every barrier you place between yourself and distraction is a vote for the person you're trying to become. There's also a social component most people ignore. The people around you are constantly influencing your dopamine baseline. If everyone in your life is scrolling, binging, seeking instant gratification, you'll be pulled in that direction. But if you surround yourself with people who value focus, discipline, deep work, their habits become contagious. Your brain is shaped not just by what you do, but by who you're with. Seek out communities that reinforce the behaviors you want. Find accountability partners on the same path, because discipline in isolation is hard. Discipline in a tribe is inevitable. Now let me address what you're thinking. This sounds miserable. Why would I want to make life harder? That's the trap. You're thinking from the perspective of someone whose brain has already been hijacked. From your current state, discipline does look harder than distraction, but from the other side, from the perspective of someone with a recalibrated brain, discipline feels easier than distraction, because distraction leaves you empty, anxious, behind. Discipline leaves you accomplished, confident, in control, which is actually harder. Spending your days chasing dopamine hits that never satisfy, or building a life where effort itself becomes rewarding. True discipline isn't forced. It's not white-knuckled. It's natural. You're not trying to be disciplined. You are disciplined. It's who you are. And when identity and action align, there's no internal conflict, no negotiation. You simply do what you do. The most dangerous people in any room are those who've reached this state. They don't react to insults. They don't panic in crisis. They don't need external validation. They've become unshakable because their actions are no longer dependent on their feelings. They've severed that connection entirely. They are free. This is what waits for you on the other side of this process. Not perfection, not ease, but alignment. Your daily choices finally moving you toward your goals instead of away from them. Your brain finally working for you instead of against you. So here's what I want you to do. Don't just consume this and move on. That's what the old version of you would do. Instead, make one concrete decision right now. Identify the single highest source of empty dopamine in your life. Social media, video games, junk food, pornography, whatever it is. Then commit to removing it for 7 days. Not forever, just 7 days. Notice what happens. Notice the restlessness. Notice when it peaks. Notice when it fades. Notice what fills the space. Notice how your relationship with effort begins to shift. Document it. Because once you see your brain rewiring itself in real time, you'll never want to go back. You'll realize you weren't meant to live as a slave to algorithms and impulses. You were meant to be someone who does hard things and loves doing them. That version of you is waiting. And the only thing standing between you and them is the choice to let your brain breathe. To step away from the noise. To trust that on the other side of temporary discomfort is permanent transformation. If you made it this far, you're already different from most people. Most people would have clicked away in the first 30 seconds. But you stayed. That tells me something about you. You're ready. So subscribe, but not because I asked. Subscribe because you've decided you're done being a spectator in your own life. Subscribe because you're the kind of person who seeks out tools to sharpen their mind. Subscribe because the codex is for those who understand that power isn't given, it's built. One decision at a time. Your brain is ready to be rewired. The only question left is whether you're ready to do it.